Welcome to the Volvo Ocean Race 2014-15 and welcome to Newport, Rhode Island. Tucked inside Narragansett Bay in one of the most famous sailing areas in the world, this 18th century city was the longtime home of the America's Cup. Now, the 200-year-old Port Adams fortress has been transformed into a busy race village as the Volvo Ocean Race is today's game in town. The fleet arrived just 10 days ago, the leaders sailing in on a fading breeze where only a few boat lengths separated the first two teams. At the finish, Dongfeng race team managed to pull away to claim victory. It was easy to see what the win meant to Charles Cordrelia and his crew. The rest of the fleet arrived in Newport as evening turned to night and the crowds remain. Relief to be back on land and reunited with friends and family after 17 days at sea. It was an extra special moment for Alvi Medica skipper Charlie Enright as the Rhode Island native sailed into home waters. Since those arrivals nearly 2 weeks ago, the village has been packed with supporters as the crews have been busy preparing for the transatlantic leg back to Europe that will begin tomorrow. But for now, it's all about today and the Team Vestas Wind Import Race Newport. I'm Niall Mine, and joining me for commentary today is Kenny Reid, who's done the last 3 editions of this Volvo Ocean Race and a native of Newport. And Newport certainly know how to put on a good show. They pulled out all the stops, a great Volvo stopover.
I'm really proud of Newport, but it's not Newport, it's southeastern New England. You know, as people come from all over the country, really, to support this great race. It's been 42 years in the making to get to Newport, Rhode Island, and some would say it's about time, others would say this is fantastic.
Import racing today, very important as it splits the tie in the overall standings. Mafre, the only team competing this weekend who've yet to claim an import victory. What sort of local knowledge can you impart for them? What have they got to do to win here?
I don't think they need any local knowledge from me. These guys, Iker Martinez is back driving the boat, and he's won an Olympic gold medal before. But this type of race course really could play into his strengths. It's a really narrow race course, southerly breeze, windward lured right off the beach here. It's going to make for a fantastic day.
Well, leg 6 brought the teams back into the Northern Hemisphere, and while it was predictably light, the action was certainly intense. A great leg to look back on.
I think it's light for the first few days, so this is us.
Yeah, we're off. Newport, here we come. It's going to be a bit of a slow week, I think.
It's probably our worst skid of the event so far. Let's put us all by ourselves.
We watched the guys sail away from us. The leaders are only 21 miles ahead.
Come back. Very good. And they come back.
Whole drum of the 990 winch basically cracked.
But we're fighting a bit of a losing battle at the moment. We've got a heck of a lot of weed out there, and we're dodging it as best we can.
We're just catching weed on the foils and it knocks maybe 10% off your performance. So you've got to decide, do you try and keep cleaning them but slow the boat down to it, or do you just leave it and go slowly?
Great boat, but see everybody. Abu Dhabi has dropped back a bit. Alvi Medica are 40 miles down, but we've got STA, Brunel, Dongfeng just here.
Now we're quite a big distance behind, so we've got to have something sort of happen now to get that back. So that's a shame for the position we're in. But
qualifying was before the transition 12 miles ahead of us, and now they are 4 miles ahead of us.
I don't really care when we arrive, as long as we're the first boat to arrive.
Things are shaping up for a very tight finish in Newport in 3 days' time.
With the serious business of racing on the schedule for today and tomorrow, the crew of Abu Dhabi took the chance to learn different skills. An ice hockey challenge against Zdeno Chara, the captain of the Boston Bruins. Then, a more traditional send-off set proceedings underway. American music and a packed dockside symbolised an import race dockout, Newport style. The women on Team SCA walked to the dock knowing a win here would impress on historic waters. Waters that Alva Medica skipper Charlie Enright knows well, having grown up sailing in this bay. Ika Martinez is back on board Mafre as they set off to try and file their first import win. The crew of Dongfeng are attempting a second import win, while over on Brunel, New Zealand World Match Race champion Adam Minoprio was preparing for his first taste of action. Also taking in action sailing for the first time was Chara, who left the dock on board Abu Dhabi Racing. And it's Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing that leads the overall scoreboard. While after breaking their mast on leg 5, Dongfeng Race Team bounced back with a win in leg 6, proving they've got what it takes on the water. But a second into Newport for Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing limited the damage and keeps Ian Walker's team on top. The big battle out in front rages on as we head into Europe. Both the Emirati boat and the Chinese entry keen to be on the podium and holding the trophy by the time the fleet reaches Sweden. With 3 legs remaining, a third of the points still to play for, this race for the Volvo Ocean Race trophy is a tight contest.
100 other things could happen. You know, we've got obstacles in the water. I think that if everybody finishes every leg, it's a big ask for both Dongfeng and I to mess everything up between now and the end. But I mean, that could happen too. I'm not a big believer in looking at the points overall. I think you just, it sounds a cliche, but you have to take each race as it comes, and as long as you've got a chance of winning, you've got a chance of winning, and they've got a chance of winning. So they have to believe that, and we certainly believe that.
We are looking forward for sure, but we don't have to forget that a few points behind us there is a very good boat, Brunel, and other boat also very close, and we have to take care. So we have no choice. We have to sail well and do the best, because if we want to keep a chance to come back. But we are, for sure, the race is only 2 months left, but it's only we have 1/3 of the point to take, and everything can happen. You have to remember that a few legs before we were fighting with Abu Dhabi with same points.
Meanwhile, the import racing remains an important ingredient. It becomes the mechanism for deciding tiebreakers when the fleet reaches Gothenburg in just over a month's time. Team Brunel lead the import series after claiming their first import race win in Itajaí. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing is a single point behind, while Team SCA is the only team to have won 2 import victories, enough to keep them in 3rd place, just 1 point ahead of Dongfeng Race Team. Let's take a look at the skippers in this year's Volvo Ocean Race. Charles Codrelia back on winning form leading into Newport after breaking his mast on leg 5. 1 point off the podium on the import series and looking to improve. Sam Davies, the leader of the all-women Team SCA, who have been a real contender in the import series and looking today to drive home a 3rd win. Bouwbekking, the Volvo veteran from the Netherlands, is leading the import series, and after his first import race win in Itajaí, he'll be keen to repeat Brazilian success here. Charlie Enright, skipper of the home team, the winner of the very first import race in Alicante. Can the home crowd lift him to another victory today? Double Olympic medalist Ian Walker leads the overall Volvo Ocean Race, but will be looking to upgrade his import standing and regain the top of the podium. Chris Nicholson, skipper of Team Vestas Wind, has been working flat out rebuilding his boat in time for Europe. He joins us for commentary today. Iker Martinez is back as skipper after stepping off for leg 6. He leads the only team yet to record an import race win, but today could be the day that changes. Heading up our commentary team on the water is Volvo Ocean Race CEO Knut Frostat. Knut, it looks like perfect Newport conditions today.
No, it's great, and you know, you always have nightmares the night before these events and wonder whether it's going to be any wind or whether it's going to rain. But you know, it's been great, and the crowds are amazing. I mean, the whole shoreline is full of people. I'm sitting here with Nico looking at the start line, and Chris Nicholson, the skipper of Team Vestas Wind. And Chris, this is, I hope, the last time I see you.
As much as I've enjoyed it, I would rather be out on the boat, for sure. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there.
We'll talk more about that later, but you know, this is just a couple of weeks away, and you hopefully have your Vestas Wind boat back in the water. So no, fantastic conditions out there. Lot of boats, lot of spectator boats everywhere, and the breeze is good. And it's going to be a tricky race course to do the start well, because the long track first here is going to be advantage. Could be a port start opportunity, I think.
Well, we're in for a fantastic day of racing at the moment. And Ken, the weather that we've got out there, it's pretty good. It was almost snowing, wasn't it?
There was literally ice in the harbor just over a month ago. So not only is it amazing that this has come off so well over the last week and a half, this stopover, but look at all the boats out there. There was 2 boats in the harbor a week and a half ago total. So great job by the local area to rally, and for all the marinas to get out there and get it done.
Well, there are the conditions that we're going to be seeing today. We've got a southerly breeze, and it's building up to around about 15 knots. And if it stays as it looks at the moment, we could have a really interesting race. Bit of a tactical decision for the sailors?
Oh, absolutely. This is a tough place to sail for these guys. And right now we're well below 15 knots, I would say. So it's going to be even harder. The windward leeward race course right inside the bay. It's narrow, it's tight, a lot of tacks, a lot of jibes. This is not easy for these 8-person crews. Up and down, I think it's 6 legs in the race course, and it's brutal for only 8 people on a 65-foot boat.
And of course the start line's going to be set to the breeze, but actually that first leg isn't a true upwind beat, so something a little bit different for the teams to try and work into their strategy.
It is, it's skewed. There's a little bit of easterly to the breeze today, which is, it's not probably perfect for the sailors. They would rather have it be a real true upwind, downwind race course. But you know what? The Volvo race is about adapting, and all these teams just have to get out there and adapt to what the Mother Nature throws at them.
Well, we're approaching the final minute to the start line. In the middle of your picture there, you can just see Team SCA and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing getting set into that starting box. There is the course that they're going to be racing up. It's going to be very, very tight racing in this compacted area, but we have got some good breeze. It is looking good, and the crowds are certainly out in force, ready to watch the racing. Team Brunel now making their final approach to the start line. And interesting to see here, Ken, these teams have all got their code zeros filled up and ready to go.
Yeah, lighter breeze. It looks like there may not be very many tacks because that breeze is skewed a little bit to the left. So you're also seeing some boats lining up for a port tack start. This is going to be tricky. There's a lot of variety in what's going on and the thinking of what's going on here right now. Watch Brunel come in from the left-hand end, and they're going to start on port tack with their code 0 up.
10 seconds to go to the start of the Team Vestas Wind import race, Newport. 6 legs, around an hour of racing, wind at around 15 knots from the south, and there is the gun. It's a great start in the middle of the line from Dongfeng, with Team Brunel struggling in the second rank.
I mean, like I said, there was every opinion possible on how to play that start. The code zeros are out because it's obviously well less than 15 knots right now. And Matt Frey comes in from starting on port tack in such a congested fleet. You would think that's rare, but obviously it was the place to be.
Well, the big question here as we see these boats peel away from the start line with those code zeros out, are they laying that top mark? Knut, you're on the water. What can you see from there?
Well, I think they were at least very close to lay it. We are just to leeward here of Matt Frey. And what do you think, Nico? Do you think they're going to lay the gate in the top?
Yeah, it looks like at the moment they're going to lay, but wow, what a tricky starting line to be able to. Matt Frey's had a good, fantastic start and they got clear air, so I guess they're going to keep it in high mode all the way here, try and slow up the boats above them.
That's a great stack up of boats. Team SCA to windward of Alvi Medica, Dongfeng Race Team and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Mafre at the moment just managing to push themselves out in front from that committee boat start. They're on quite a low track, and it looks like on Dongfeng Race Team no code zero. So a little bit of a difference with the teams here. Not quite a consensus with the sail choice.
I mean, look at this view. How great is this for Newport? This is the best sailors in the world in these really high-powered boats. It doesn't look like they're laying the mark right now. Dongfeng finally goes out with a code zero. Again, it's these differences of opinions. It seems so obvious in this short course sailboat racing sometimes, but because there's a little bit of skew to the race course, a huge variety of opinions on that starting line.
Well, at the moment, the advantage going to Mafre on the right-hand side of the pack, but are they going to be the boat that lays that mark? Because if Team SCA have got this better run from the windward position, Mafre are going to have to tack and head through the fleet.
And then the other big question is that they're not going to be using their A3s or their big Gennikers most likely on the run. It's such a short race course and it's so tight. You know, you look at Alva Medica making a little move here out in the middle of the fleet. This is all to play for right now. There's no doubt about that.
Well, let's just I would like your thoughts about the current here, because we were talking about this before we came on air, and the current is starting to flood inwards. Is that going to be a big factor in this race?
You know, I don't think it will be. Typically in this area of the world it is, but it's right on the change. It's right at the very beginning of the flood tide, and these boats go fast enough through the water that a half a knot of current or so really isn't going to make that much difference to the overall race course.
Well, we're about halfway up this leg at the moment. Let's have a little bit of a look at the course. We've got Dongfeng Race Team just managing to slip a little bit out from Alvi Medica. Here we are in Newport in North America. It's just a fantastic place for sailing and a real rich sailing history here.
Well, yeah, the America's Cup was here forever, right off of Fort Adams. It's a six-leg course, windward leeward, upwind, downwind, although because this breeze has shifted a little bit to the east, it's not a true windward leeward race course. It's really not a big deal for the Volvo setup. That's the way they like to have it. They want this close to shore. It's stadium course sailing. Brings all kinds of fans and viewers involved from all around the area. You can see it's a natural amphitheater really for sailboat racing.
So with 6 legs, 3 laps, these boats are going to get squeezed between that tight little bit of land between Newport and Jamestown. It's going to be very, very congested. The big question, though, is Mafre are out in front. Are they laying? Canute, from where you are, does it look like Mafre are going to get to this windward mark?
I would say absolutely. They're absolutely laying, and I'm seeing another sailboat that out sailing on port tack outside the gate, and they're pointing higher than the gate. So no, I think they will have no problem with laying. That said, it's clearly less breeze close to land. On the other side, there could be a little fluky thing there, and it looks like it's more breeze almost in here. I mean, Kenny, you're born in here, so you must know, but it looks like it's less breeze closer to the gate.
Well, if I knew that well, Canute, I'd probably be out there right now still racing. So I'm in the booth, so maybe I'm not so hot at this stuff.
Well, the big question for me here, Ken, is we've got Mafre out in the lead. They're starting to look quite strong as that breeze just lifts them into the mark. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, Dongfeng and Team Brunel are all now on that second row as the fleet comes upwind. And what options do they have?
Well, they don't have many options, especially like Canute and Nico said, they're laying the mark. It looks like they're laying the mark at this stage, but it is fluky. When it's this light a breeze, you are around a lot of land. There's a lot of boats out there, a lot of exhaust, a lot of wakes. You never know, but it does look like they're all laying pretty good. The next question is, do you jibe through this gate, or do you actually tack around the gate? So that's the next decision these guys have to make.
Not only do they have to worry about the gates and the other boats on the course, but look at that spectator fleet as well, and that's going to be causing a little bit of wash, a little bit of wake on the water, and sailing down back through that area. That's going to be quite interesting. I mean, as a sailor out there, you've done this race. Are you pleased to see the spectators out there, or do you just wish they get out of the way?
No. You get used to them. You love them. I mean, that's what this race is all about. It's the commercial side of it. You know, Alva Medica is trying to sell medical instruments. You know, SCA is trying to sell tissue paper, and now we have all these faces and all these people out there. I mean, it's just. You know, my brother Brad, I hate to give him any credit whatsoever, but he's the guy who's really gotten this race here to town, And look what he's done. And his whole staff at Sail Newport, the state of Rhode Island. I couldn't be more proud of our local area and how they've come out and supported this event in just such a huge way.
Dongfeng Race Team to windward of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, desperately trying to get themselves back into this race and back into that front row. But it's Mafre charging out in front, followed by Alvi Medica with Team SCA on the windward hit.
You know, it's tough if you're in Abu Dhabi spot right there. It's maybe Zdeno Chara. He's the tallest defenseman or he's the tallest player in the National Hockey League. So maybe it's a little too much windage off the starting line or something. I also noticed he's still been in the rink a lot. I hope he's wearing a lot of sunscreen because he looks like he's been playing a lot of hockey.
Well, as the boat starts sailing out here into slightly more open water, I'm just seeing Mafre, the Spanish team, just getting heeled over, and then Team SCA catching a bit of gust. And Canute, from your viewpoint, does it look like there's a bit more breeze at the top of the course?
Well, it's good breeze here. I'm with Nico here right in the gate, and there is solid breeze on the gate. And one thing we shouldn't forget is that the two boats in the lead right now, Alvi Medica and Mafre, are actually on equal points in the overall scoring in the race. And the import race series is there to break ties. So it's quite ironic that these two guys on equal points are now in first and second. But I think that Mafre needs to put some more boats between Mafre and Alvi Medica to be able to break the tie already here in Newport. But Nico, I mean, one thing we're looking at here, do you think they're going to tack around the gate or they're going to jibe? They have that option. What is the quickest? What will they do?
I think the manoeuvre would be to come to this right-hand mark and jibe around. It's going to be a fairly loose angle back down to where the starting line was. Even though you might get a little bit of gas from the other boats, but I'm pretty sure we'll see Mafre come to this right-hand mark.
And we have had some other import races where we had boats laying the gate, and it has been a lot of things decided at the gate because just whether you jibe makes a massive difference. And obviously with the fleet starting to cover each other, going backwards and forwards, you don't always want to be to leeward. But it looks to me like the leeward gate mark is actually the closer one as well. But right now it looks like Mafre is heading to the weather one.
Yep, I'm surprised with that move, and perhaps Alvi Medica is going to come to the right-hand mark. So
this is an opportunity for Alvi Medica, clearly.
Absolutely. I would much rather be heading to where Alvi Medica
Charlie is grabbing it. Charlie is going for the leeward mark there. He's clearly sailing lower. So, or maybe Mafre changed their mind. No, they're heading up. They're going for the tack, which might be quicker with the code zero.
Reaching the top of the course for the first time after a long drag race from the start, Mafre and Alvi Medica split to go around opposite marks. Team SCA in third place, chasing quite hard, and a different decision in tactics could mean a change in the leader as we head onto the downwind leg.
Closer mark that those guys went around. There's no doubt that Alvi Medica has gone a shorter distance, but now they have to sail back through the dirty air of the entire fleet. That will give Mafre a bit of an advantage on just overall acceleration away from the mark, but like those guys said out in the water, this is a toss-up, and Alvi Medica has taken the shorter route.
And what about the difference in terms of tacking and jibing at the top here? Because Mafre have had to tack as they approach this windward gate, whereas Alvi Medica and Team SCA elected to jibe. Speed difference in those maneuvers?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Nico would know it better than me right now, but I would think that tacking might be a little bit of a quicker maneuver in this type of condition because you're sailing through your own bad air. You're not just sailing through the bad air of the rest of the fleet. You're actually sailing through your own dirty air at the same time. So you just see how slow and painful that looks. Believe me, it feels slow and painful on the boat as well, folks. But with only 8 people trying to do these maneuvers, it's just simply not easy.
Well, as we can see, Dongfeng Race Team rounding that mark, followed by Team Brunel, and it looks like they've got a little bit of trouble there at the front of the boat, just trying to get their code zero back out. The sheet's got a little bit snagged, and they've had a change of bowman on this boat with Portman, their regular bowman, having an infection on his elbow. So obviously some skills just need to be sharpened up.
Yeah, it's just the simplest, crazy little things. That was just the sheet hanging up on one of the hanks on the jib, and it's crazy how the tiniest little things just drive you crazy. They're the ones that just nab you in the end. And here's Brunel. They can't get their code zero out. They're going to get passed by Abu Dhabi. So again, what looked like a simple parade around that mark, one tiny mistake, and all of a sudden you get passed.
Well, Mafre and Alvi Medica leading the fleet away from the top of the course, and it looks to me like they're pretty much even, only a few meters separating those two boats. Alvi Medica had a little bit of a lead. Mafre just managed to come around the top, but very important to remember that these two teams are tied in the overall series.
Matt Frail pushed down over the top of these guys right now, and you know they're in a controlling position. Again, I think the difference was they went a longer distance, but they sailed in cleaner air pretty much the whole time.
And with this race course that we've got at the moment, it is a little bit of a drag race on some of these legs. The maneuvers become all the more important, don't they?
Well, not just that. I mean, you just see where a good start versus a bad start. Brunel, I mean, here Brunel is winning the overall Newport series, and here they are last in the race. So it shows just a couple tiny mistakes, especially on a bit of a parade route like this, and it's really going to be hard to get back into the game.
Well, Canute, from where you are, what sort of tactical options are available for Mafre to keep the fleet behind?
Well, I think the next is going to be the next gate again. I don't think they're going to struggle to keep them behind until the gate, because it's going to be very hard to pass them. The interesting thing is if one starts pushing, you know, and luffing, as we call it, sailing higher to the wind and closer to Fort Adams, because then it's going to push the fleet up behind you, and then there's create some opportunities. But right now, I really don't see many passing lanes to the gate, but it's going to be that next gate again. We have seen that before. Things can happen at that gate. They look like a solid pressure of wind here, and God, there's so many spectator boats, so we're struggling to sort of maneuver here, but we're just making it parallel to the fleet. Do you see passing lanes, Nico? What would you do if you were Alvi Medica here?
To be honest, if I was Alvi Medica, I think I'd be almost happy to remain in second. I think each boat's going to really work hard on putting as much bad air on the boat behind them as possible. So not many passing lanes. I think just that last manoeuvre at the top mark was Alvi Medica's best chance at the moment.
Well, Mafre, of course, we said before the start, they are the boat that has yet to claim their import victory, and here they are out in front, and what a fantastic audience they've got cheering them along. And of course, cheering on Alvi Medica, Charlie Enright, a native of the state of Rhode Island, grew up sailing in this bay, and you yourself, I mean, you grew up sailing here. What is it about this area of water that makes it so iconic?
Well, it is iconic, and it's picturesque. It usually has fairly reliable breezes. I mean, you look at Clingstone here. I know Clingstone, this is a very famous house on the rock that's been rented by Alva Medica supporters for this event. I'm guessing there's a couple beverages up on top of the roof there as we speak. It's just a great place to sail, and like these guys have said, this town knows sailing, and the whole region. There they go. Do you think there's some beverages up there? Do you think?
I think they're certainly catered for.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see. The Volvo race has been my life for the last 7 years, and it's just great to not be having to talk about it anymore. People get to see it, and it's really it's near to my heart, and I'm glad it's going to become even more important to everybody around here.
Well, what's it like for you now with the Volvo Ocean Race meaning so much to you as a sailor? What's it like to not be out there competing?
Well, I'll tell you, in those late nights where it's blowing like hell and I'm sitting on my couch, I just lean over, grab a glass of red wine, and kind of salute these guys as they're in the middle of the ocean. But I have to admit, the couple points here when these guys all sailed into town, I missed it. It would have been very cool to sail into my hometown, I can tell you that.
And of course, the race has changed so much with these new boats. We've gone from the 70 to the 65, and of course the one design. But the demands on a sailor, has it changed much from your experience?
Oh, I think it has. The demands on the sailor, there was much more creativity involved when I sailed, because that was the way you gained an edge, and now you have to gain an edge through just high intensity. Not that we weren't intense, but you could always wait for a period where you knew your sail or your boat might have a bit of an advantage. That's, by the way, that's a J-class Hanneman, a boat that's near and dear to my heart. That's about the nicest vantage point in town.
I would say that's probably the best seat, isn't it?
It's just, there's a lot of history around here. When you get a 140-foot J-class, those are the boats they used to sail in the America's Cup back in the 20s and 30s. It's watching these modern, hot shots out here on the water. You can't ask for anything more than this.
Was it the America's Cup that really cemented sailing in the heart of Newport?
Well, I think so. It was here for a long time, and You know, America's Cup Boulevard is right downtown, and it wasn't until 1983 that it was a really integral part of this community.
Well, the fleet are now starting to approach the leeward gate. Mafre still out in the lead, being chased by Alvi Medica. And as we've said, with these legs becoming a bit of a drag race, the maneuvers at these marks become even more important. Now, what do we expect these boats to do? Which one of these two marks are they going to be going for?
Yeah, I think, again, the windward side, Mafre kind of proved the windward side, or tacking around the mark, is a little less risky because you're not sailing through all the bad air. Now I'm saying that, and they're going to go around the other side. So you just never know with these guys. That's fantastic. I couldn't have queued myself up any better than that.
The first boat to round Mark II is Mafre, having pulled back the lead from Alvi Medica from that split at the windward mark. They're going to be working extra hard to try and hold on to this potential import win here in Newport.
And you know, well, Mafre, you teed me up now before the race started. You asked me about Mafre, can they win a race? I mean, I think Iker has something to prove here right now. They've been a little off the pace, and he hasn't been there for each of the legs. And that guy, he's an unbelievably good import sailor. So, you know, it wasn't necessarily a no-brainer that he was going to be out in front, but he loves this stuff.
Well, we've got our first split at the leeward gate with Team SCA heading out to the mark to the left-hand side as you look upwind. They've got to get that code 0 in and under control before they can tack the boat round. And it looks to me from this angle they might have sailed a little bit wide.
Yeah, it's risky. The only way to lose in a parade is to make a move different from the other guy. So if I were them, I certainly would have just followed in line. You can't take a big chance like that, but you never know. These things could pay off. You never know.
Well, Mafre safely on to lap 2, leg 3, heading upwind, and it looks like the breeze maybe has come around a little bit to the left. They look like they've got an easy lay off from that leeward gate up to the top, so maybe a little bit of a left-hand shift in the breeze.
Yep, Dongfeng unfortunately didn't have the best mark rounding right there. Again, folks, I can't tell you. I did the practice race with these guys the other day. It is so hard to make these maneuvers with just 8 guys.
And you can see just how hard, just how much you need every single person on the boat pulling on the winches, putting the power into those sails.
It's not. It's as much. It's the grinding world championships. You know, that's what this thing is. You're just constantly grinding, pretty much all the way around the race course, all around the world. You know, that's what they do.
Well, it's interesting to me because Team Brunel, as they come along here, you know, Rokas Melevinkas, he's 87 kilos, the temporary bowman on board that boat. And I used to be a bow back in my day, and, you know, I'd struggle to make 70 kilos. So, you know, the game has definitely become very much a physical battle. Mafre out in the lead on top of Alvi Medica. Canute, this looks like it's really going the way of the Spanish team.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I think as Kenny said, Iker wants to prove a point. They've been up and down. They have been struggling in the beginning of the race. They have some, but every now and then you see the sort of the flair of Mediterranean sailors when it's sort of flat water, and you know, you don't want to race Spanish sailors. I'm living in Spain right now, and when you have those light, flat days with sort of offshore breezes, that's what they sail in all day long, all year long. You know, they're very, very good at it. So. Iker, he's in a big 49er right now, I think. Right, Nico? You used to race 49er against him, no?
Yeah, yes, and first raced him over here in Newport a long time ago. But I think we see Mafre now, they're really pointing well above the mark to try and end up eventually putting some gas back on Alvi Medica. But, yep, it's still looking pretty stable. I think the big push here will be SCA versus Dongfeng to see who can be third to the top mark.
And tactically now, if you can push everyone way above the mark, you're always going to gain in front, right? Because they're going to try to sit over your line. They can't sit in your dirty air. So
yeah,
it's a way to extend your lead.
Yeah, and eventually at some stage they have to aim back to the mark, and that will be when Mafre will gain their advantage.
Well, Nico, I'm just wondering, as we're in a little bit of a procession now with these boats before we get the real tactical flurry at the top, just give us a little bit of an update on where you are rejoining the race, because I know every single supporter wants to see Team Vestas win back in the race. Are you closing in on it?
Absolutely. The crew is still in Bergamo at the Persico boatyard working on the boat, and then in about 6 days' time, hopefully we'll be on a truck. We've got a truck and ferry into Lisbon. So touch wood, everything's still on target. The boat's been weighed. The boat's currently, I'm hoping it's getting some coloured paint put on it today or tonight. and everything's on track. It's going to be tight, but we've got a super bunch of people working on the project.
And I cannot wait to see the reception that you guys gets back onto the water and you get back into the racing, and just how much are you just chomping at the bit to get out there?
Yeah, that's a hard thing to describe, to be honest with you. Like as sailors, I guess we're like footballers when they're injured. We need boats and we need to be sailing. So as much as I've enjoyed this, it's a bit too hectic with you guys in the commentary team, so I need to go back sailing.
Well, we've certainly appreciated having your input out in the water. Mafrey still in the lead, and in fact that lead stretching up to above 100 meters over the American team of Alvi Menica. They look like they are on fire.
There's really not a whole lot to it right now. It's a bit of a shame. This breeze was supposed to be more to the right. It was supposed to be more southwesterly, at least southerly today, and that would have made for a bit more of a windward lured race course. And you never know. A lot of times these light air southeasterlies, they can get a little fluky and change and go right and turn this into a more upwind downwind race course. But this is a reach around at this stage. It's you got to mess up a boat handling maneuver really to have something come back and bite you.
Well, of course, we've still got over half of the race left to go. It's 3 laps, 6 legs, and we're about to conclude leg 3. So plenty more maneuvers to be played out. And let's be honest, plenty of chances to get these sail changes wrong and slip back into the pack. That ley line looking more and more easy as the breeze just coming round to the left. You can see how much easier it is for the boat on this leg to lay that top mark.
Yep, but there's really not much to it. Like Nico said before, if you're Charlie right now, just don't make any mistakes. Get on the podium. Don't do anything crazy. I always used to think that the podium was that was the angle for me in these import races, because you have all your sponsors here, you have all your friends, and especially for Charlie and Mark Towell, they put together this fantastic program, and this would be great for them just to to hear the cheers of all their fans. A second place in a kind of a fluky race like this would certainly be a great thing for them.
Does it surprise you, Ken? Because, I mean, looking at Alvi Medica, Charlie Enright, 30-year-old skipper, the youngest skipper in the Volvo Ocean Race. And he's not only have they put together this boat, but they've actually done it with some pretty good success. And they podium on offshore legs, and they've won import races. Does it surprise you just how strong this team has come together?
Oh, no. I don't think it surprises anybody. These are really talented sailors, or they wouldn't be here in the first place. Yeah, I think they're frustrated at times because they haven't shown a lot of consistency, and I know for sure that they would have rather had a place or two better coming into their hometown. We sat out there. I mean, it was kind of a shame. They were drifting between Castle Hill and the finish line when they came in for almost 2.5 hours in the middle of the night. But still, everybody's out there supporting them. These guys are absolutely busting their tail. They're getting better every leg, and it's really a learning experience for them at this stage. And I think they're showing themselves off really well.
And how would you compare the characteristics of the young team Alvi Medica with maybe one of the more experienced teams like Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing? I mean, they're a team that's come into this on the back of many other campaigns. And Ian Walker, I mean, he's desperate to win this time.
Well, Ian has he's learned from the last two races, and you have to learn from your mistakes as well as when you do things well. I think it's better to learn from your mistakes. And Ian, didn't have 2 great Volvo Ocean races last couple times around, but clearly this one design platform for him is working out fantastically. He's got a star-studded team, really deep. There's 7 solid drivers on the boat. And you can see as the legs wear on, that depth of driving ability certainly tends to pay off.
Well, the fleet are approaching the Windward Gate. This will conclude the first half of this import race, and we could see some changes in position, most importantly at the corners of this course. Mafrey now bearing away, so they are electing to go round the left-hand mark as you look downwind, and all hands on the pump. So at the halfway point in the race, it's the Spanish boat Mafrey still in the lead and holding off the challenge from the young guns from America on board Alvi Medica.
Yeah, I think they chose probably the leeward gate this time around because the fleet's slightly more spread out, and that bad air, that disturbed air from the other boats won't be quite as dramatic. The last time, remember, they all got there in a bunch, and there would have been some really, really bad air, which is why they chose the weather side with the left-hand gate mark. Looks like everybody's choosing this bottom gate mark right now. It's just a little bit closer. They're just simply closer.
Well, Alvi Medica taking that mark rounding a little bit easy. It almost looked to me like they filled up that code 0 just half a second too early, and you've got to be hunting for those little meters, haven't you?
It looks easy from where we sit, though, doesn't it? I guarantee you that you think you're pushing it right to the very last second every moment that you're out there.
And as we can see these boats sailing around these corners, Team SCA, all women crew, they sail with 11 on board. The rest of the teams, all male crew, they sail with 8. But even then, even with 11, you're still short-handed, aren't you?
Oh my! I mean, it's absolutely just brutal. And I think it's right. I think it's a fair number, that 8 versus 11. And you can see in the import, it might actually pay off even more in the import than it does offshore, because a couple more sets of hands on one of these grinder pedestals makes a big, big difference.
Charles Cordrelia taking his boat on the downwind course through the jibe, and then round onto leg 4, back down to the bottom of the course one more time before the finish. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing chasing hard for the fleet. Not a fantastic performance for them, but as long as they can stay close to Dongfeng Race Team, Ian Walker won't be too worried. There at the back of the boat, we've got that all-important VIP, and he certainly stands tall, doesn't he?
He's trying to get his windage out of the way. He's using the dome to hide behind there. I'm glad to see Zdeno has a hat on, though. He was going to get fried out there if he wasn't careful. That Slovakian skin.
Team Brunel round the windward mark in 6th place. This will be a disappointing change of form for them, having come off such a fantastic performance in the previous stopover. Now in Newport, struggling to make any impact.
I mean, all these guys are going to go back to the starting line right now. If it's a parade, literally the first 10 seconds of the race, the one team I think is going to be disappointed is Dongfeng, that they waited so long to unfurl their code 0 right off the starting line. They went from a really nice bow forward position and kind of dropped back. They just I don't know, maybe Knut and Nico can tell us a little bit more, but I think that 20, 30, even 40 seconds of hesitation of pulling out their code 0 might have cost them the ability to be front row or second row.
Well, Knut, I'm just wondering, as we're watching this racing here, and one thing is certainly standing out, the amount of spectators and spectator boats on the water is fantastic. And for someone like yourself who works putting this race together, it's got to be quite nice to see so many people enjoying this event.
It's fantastic. You know, it makes my heart beat faster, I can tell you. And not only on the water, but, you know, the whole shoreline here. There's tents, there's people, there is everywhere. There's lots of people following it. And even though it's not the perfect racetrack with a VMG upwind or downwind, it's getting windier and windier. I tell you, Brunel is really speeding along here, and it's a great way to showcase the boats and showcase the race. I mean, I think all the boats out here, they're really getting action sailing right in front of them, and it's not often you have a fleet of big, powerful sailboats speeding along like this in front of you.
Well, I actually had a rather interesting story relayed to me from one of the young sailors on board Alvi Medico, Alberto Bolzan, and he was walking through Newport, and he said he felt like a celebrity, and he actually had an elderly woman, let's say, come up to him, grab him by the arm, and proceeded to give him a blow-by-blow debrief of what they should have done on the last offshore leg. And when sailing is that important to that wider demographic, that goes to show how important it is for the Volvo Ocean Race to make a big impact here. A great event as we've got out in the water. Mafre doing well, and Alvi Medica, they're going to struggle to make an impact.
Well, take your second right now. This is a parade. You gotta wait for opportunity, and don't force the opportunity. Just wait and see if something happens, and if something happens, great. If not, you can be really pleased with a second place. You know, get on the podium, make your local crowd happy, and get prepared to get out of here tomorrow.
Well, Alvi Medica are just in the hunt for Mafre, and we can actually hear from Mark Towell, the watch captain on board Alvi Medica, and get an update from what they're going for. Mark, what's your options here?
It's not a whole lot of options at the moment. It's turned into a bit of a parade, but thankfully we're at the front end of that. I mean, we're still chasing Mapfre here and a couple more laps to go, so maybe there's a split to come. The marks are a bit skewed up here, but at the top they seem to be pretty even, so one more top mark and maybe we'll do a split.
Well, we're just watching you there on the screen. We can see you just hiking on the windward side of the boat. It looks like the boat's fairly powered up. Good breeze today?
Yeah, it's been puffy. Not quite as much breeze as forecast, but still enough to get out and racing. These masthead zeros are pretty powered up. Unfortunately, the direction isn't great for a traditional upwind downwind race, but still good racing and a ton of spectators out. It's a good day.
Mark, hey, this is Kenny Reed. Hey, I got a question for you. I mean, times have changed when you're in the middle of a race and all of a sudden you're talking on TV. A lot of people say, are you concentrating out there? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I have to say this is a first for me as well. It's not to say the intensity isn't here. It's just we're sort of straight line sailing at the moment. The other guys are doing the hard work, so I get to talk to you guys.
Mark, just one more thing before we let you get back to the race. As a young team who have come together with so much passion to put this boat on the water, do you hope that your team will really open the door for many other young sailors to get into the Volvo Ocean Race? Because professional sailing, it's a tough gig to break into.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, the way Charlie and I got here really from the beginning 8 years ago was with an opportunity, and it's all about opportunities and hard work and how you make the most of them. So, I think our team hopefully represents what a dream and a lot of hard work can do, and hopefully we can inspire others to do the same.
Well, Mark, we'll just say goodbye to you. If you could just give us a little bit of a wave to the helicopter, we'll just wish you well. Good luck in this race, and thanks for checking in with us.
Thanks, guys. See you at the finish.
Times have changed. The day that you tell a sailor to wave to the camera in the middle of a race, I mean, Knut, what's going on around here? My goodness.
No, I know. I mean, we have this today. We have this Periscope live program as well, so you can stream from your phones live, and then people can even ask questions back to the guys. Like the fans watching it live can ask live questions. So next race, God knows what we're gonna do. We're gonna do crazy things.
Lap 2 concluded with Mapfre, the Spanish team, still out in the lead. Still the breeze is holding on, and still they're keeping the American young guns at bay.
A bit of a shame we're not getting a little more of a right-hand shift to kind of make this racetrack slightly more interesting. But you know what? It's Mother Nature. This is part of what we do. This is part of the sport of sailing. And again, these guys have to adapt. They're going to go back to the starting lines and realize, wow, that first minute of the race was almost turned into the race right there.
And it was a very gutsy start. I mean, Alvi Medica didn't get a fantastic start, but Mapfre punched off from that committee boat end in what could have turned out to be a very disastrous start because they were to leeward.
They were to leeward, but they were the one that really set up on port first. They absolutely decided that they didn't want to have to do a maneuver in the middle of the start sequence. They started on port. They had a really good grind in on the jib, and they were fortunate that they laid that first gate. If they hadn't laid that first gate, it could have been last, not first, but last.
The breeze is looking a little bit lighter down at the bottom of the course as Team SCA round the leeward gate. One more lap to go for these teams before they come downwind to the finish. There you can see on the helm on the left-hand side of your picture, Carolyn Brouwer taking the helm, 41-year-old Dutch sailor. She's been to the Volvo before. She was the helmer from a previous campaign.
Yeah, and she was I think she was a World Yachts Woman of the Year at one stage, and they got plenty of talent on the SCA boat. I think again, it's kind of like Alva Medica. They're in a learning curve mode, and they can't get down. They got to keep trying to get better.
Dongfeng race team now round the bottom of the course. You can see Charles Cordrelia just reaching over the wheel, just adjusting the keel, electronically controlling the ballast, and that's a very important thing to get perfectly set up.
Yeah, the keel adjustment is almost on a day like today as much of a fine-tuned adjustment as trimming the sails. And it's probably very foreign for a lot of people to even imagine, but trimming the keel really becomes second nature for that guy behind the wheel.
Team Brunel round the white leeward gate, the windward of the two, now chasing Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. Alvi Medica in second place, their gaze fixed on the Spanish team ahead. What what can they do at this point? Is it enough just to sail well, or are you actually hoping that the Spaniards make a mistake?
Yeah, oh my word, it's just not going to be. It's not happening. Don't force it, fellas. You know, they don't. the other guy's going to have to do something crazy at this stage for something to happen to be able to let you pass. It's just you have to just be patient in this game and don't do anything crazy. Do the right thing and hope that the right thing works out for you. There's not much, unfortunately, there's not much in this right now.
Well, one key thing that's been taken out of this event at the moment is the development of sails from individual teams. The event now, one design, North Sails, integral to the sails, designing and providing the sails for the entire fleet. How much does that change the game for the sailors?
Well, this is a challenge for our company, and we had to prove to Volvo that we could, first of all, make identical sails. So everybody's mainsail, this is called a A0 up right now. Everybody's A0. Every sail in the fleet is absolutely identical, number one. Number two, they wanted to minimize. There's only 8 sails on board, and there's only 12 sails allowed all the way around the world. So they had to be durable. And thirdly, this is a Grand Prix event. So yes, durable. Yes, there's not going to be many of them, but they still have to be the fastest sails on the planet too. And very often that speed and durability don't go together. I think these 3DI sails that fortunately our company makes are actually doing a remarkably good job.
Well, and I just wonder if I could just get you to briefly explain, with Dongfeng Race Team, they had a decision in front of the jury about using their pre-race sails, and I understand that now they're going to be allowed to use their pre-race sail, their mainsail, after shredding their mainsail on one of the previous offshore legs. Yeah, their mast fell over, unfortunately, in that Southern Ocean leg, and when it fell over, they had to cut it loose, and when they cut it loose, they had to cut the mainsail in half, and so they lost the top half of their mainsail. There was a big decision as to whether they had to repair that mainsail, meaning build a new top half of the mainsail, or whether they were able to use their pre-race mainsail. Quite frankly, I think common sense prevailed, and this is by far the least expensive option. And remember, expense is a big part of this race for the sponsors. So this is the least expensive option and a common sense option, and I think this is the smart move. Well, talking of smart moves, Knut, you've got to be impressed with what Newport has done. I mean, how much of a process is it to bring the race to a stopover village?
This is Knut. I'm trying to talk.
Oh, well, Knut's just enjoying the racing just a little bit too much. And, you know, there is a man that gets very passionate about the action. Alvi Medica, and that breeze just looks a little bit soft for them. And with Mafre starting to stretch their distance out in front, we're seeing about 9 knots of boat speed out on the course at the moment. And I'm starting to wonder, is the tide having an effect? These boats just don't look like they're moving as fast as we've seen. Yeah, it's just fluky. You know, this breeze is shifted to the east, and it's actually underneath. You're actually under the land here as you go. So it's not so easy. You know, you look, and the split at that last gate all of a sudden created a wide gap between the right-hand boats and the left-hand boats, and may have actually made a passing lane. So the SCA team went around the left-hand gate. All of a sudden, they're in a little bit lighter breeze. Abu Dhabi went around the right-hand gate as we face downwind, and all of a sudden might have a bit of a passing lane. So again, it's all about not making that crucial mistake, and unfortunately SCA has put himself in a tough spot right now. Well, it's interesting to see here, Team SCA and Dongfeng Race Team now very close to where the spectator fleet is. Is that a decision that you think, is that wind shift driven, or is that maybe tidal? No, I think this is wind shift driven. Again, the breeze is blowing off the shoreline here, so you do get, it gets fluky, and when in doubt, you got to take the high lane. The high lane means you're going to have clearer air. Those guys both jibed around that left-hand mark as you face downwind and put themselves in kind of a precarious spot. So we actually, as we're sitting here saying it's really hard to pass, we might see a couple boats get past here at this stage. Well, the crew on board the Spanish boat Mafre trying very, very hard, holding on to that lead. This could be their first import race win. Now, we have got a little bit of a change of course at the moment. The breeze just affecting the racing area, and the race management team electing to move that top gate out into a bit more open water. Well, it's going to be tucked up right underneath that little point of land is called Castle Hill, and it's going to be tucked right up underneath Castle Hill. It's going to be quite light air right in that corner, so it's going to be tough to get through.
But knowing that that change of course is going to happen, they would have had to tell them before Gate 4 that Gate 5 was going to be moved. That meant that going to the left-hand gate was probably a mistake because it's going to be tighter angle. On this whole leg, you're going to be on a tighter angle. Why take the chance of jiving around that last gate mark and actually giving up some of that precious distance towards Castle Hill?
Now, as the fleet start heading upwind here, of course, all these sailors focused on the racing, but the area that they're racing in, and in fact the area that we're now moving the course into, this is a pretty important racing area in terms of sailing. Some very important historic racing has taken part on this water.
Yeah, when they did the America's Cup here, it was about another 1.5 miles offshore from where this gate is. There was called the America's Cup buoy. It was out there forever, and that's where every single America's Cup race started. And that's where I grew up. You know, I was here in 1983. I'm that old. You can say it.
You don't look it.
It was the first year I actually moved to Newport. It was the year that that the infamous Dennis Conner lost the America's Cup. And a lot of people say that might be the best thing that ever happened to the America's Cup because it really kind of spiced things up. Others say that maybe the tradition was lost as soon as it was lost. So, you know, everybody's got an opinion, but the bottom line is there's been some amazing, Olympic trials. I can't tell you how many world championships have been held here. It just doesn't get much better than this.
And then around the globe, you have these iconic sailing places where it's almost like it's a rite of passage to reach that sailing area. And Newport, Rhode Island, it's no different.
No different. And again, as we look at the race course, Abu Dhabi, all of a sudden SCA opened the door here, and Abu Dhabi has a really good chance of rolling over the top. And same thing with Dongfeng. You know, if they knew that next gate was changed, they should have shifted their mentality to be on the high side of the race course, which means toward the wind. Abu Dhabi does have a chance to get around SCA here right now, and Dongfeng. That would be it would really be an unforced error, I would say, to the guys that allow the pass to happen, because it still is a bit of a reach around.
Well, just providing a little bit of a different insight into the racing, a further look at how the action unfolds on the water. Amory Ross on board Alvi Medica has just started his second stream on the Periscope onboard streaming initiative. If you haven't dialed into this yet, all you need is access to the internet and a cell phone pretty much, and you can have a look at how the action is unfolding right on board that boat. There we can see Mafre on the right hand side of your screen, and that breeze is starting to get a little bit light maybe out there. Canute, how does the wind look at the top of the course? Well, I think once again Canute is far too interested in watching the racing, but just as you pointed out, oh, Canute, you're there? How does the breeze look at the top?
No, I tell you, I mean, Mapfre is obviously cutting it very short here, very close to land. I mean, whoever is sitting on Castle Hill here is having an amazing experience. You can almost touch the boat. Hundreds and hundreds of people up there. And, you know, painful leg for SCA. We were watching them coming out. In fact, what happened was that they got gassed by Alvi Medica. They just came out just below the line of Alvi Medica from the gate, and they sat there too long. They should have stuck up high and lived through it, but then they tried to foot a bit, go a bit faster and get forward, but they obviously never managed to do that. So this could be expensive for them, and also very expensive for Dongfeng. I mean, they're going to be passed by Brunel as well. So, but it looks like it's breeze all the way. There's lighter close to the lighthouse, and then obviously now Mapfre is sticking it very high, doing what you said, Nico.
Yeah, they're putting as much distance on Alvi Medica as possible, but it's neck and neck here with SCA in Abu Dhabi. I think it's been the most stressful leg for SCA here to try and hold off Abu Dhabi. I think they might just get there, but you know, there is still the possibility on this last leg that a boat may peel to an A3 possibly. So if that happens, that would certainly spice things up a bit.
And also, if SCA gets stuck in the bad air of Abu Dhabi, which is now very possible, they could theoretically even lose Brunel. I mean, when you get stuck in bad air from a huge code zero sail like this, and there's nowhere to go, they have a whole line of bad air in front of them here.
Yeah, it's like getting in the queue. Someone takes a ticket and then they roll past you, and then it just continues on and on and on, and all you're trying to do is get some clean air and get moving again.
Well, there, as we could just see Castle Hill Lighthouse, just taking a look at the water. It does look to me like there's starting to be some tide flooding in here. And as we start sailing up towards these the final windward gate, one more leg to the finish. it's going to be a little bit difficult, isn't it?
This new position, this new mark rounding position will maybe open up a bit of room for passing on this next leg.
Well, after a change of course, bringing the racing further out to sea, the final leg to the finish begins with Maffrey still in the lead and looking ever stronger. Just a little jibe to go for the Spaniards to get their boat onto that final leg, and then they're going to be comfortably laying the finish.
Well, they hope they're comfortably laying the finish. The rest of us hope that it's a jibing duel downwind here, or a big change in course, a big change in wind direction.
Well, the big challenge here is, of course, Maffrey looked comfortable in first, Alvi Medica looking good in second, but it will be those boats towards the back getting bunched up next to Castle Hill before they get to those windward marks. That's where we could see some place changes. Alvi Medica in second place, and unfortunately, you've got to admit it, something really amazing is going to have to happen for them to claim the victory here.
Yeah, this is an act of God if Matt Frey loses this race at this stage. It would take a really large error. But we talked about it way back around that last gate. SCA got themselves in a low lane on a very tight angled leg. And Abu Dhabi gets over the top. And you know what? Like Nico said, they're going to have to work hard just to stay out in front of Brunel right now, because they're going to be in the bad air of Abu Dhabi for a while.
Well, as Alvi Medica start their final leg to the finish, let's not forget that even if they finish second here in Newport, that will still be a great import finish for them. And they got that first in Alicante, but after that, the only speakable result they got was a third in Sanya. So a second here would be a great bankable result.
Don't think for a second that there isn't more pressure on the home team. I mean, it's nerve-wracking because there's a lot of people here expecting these guys to have a great day, and you think about it all night, and you think about it for the last week, maybe for the last 6 months of his life. Charlie's been thinking, man, we got to put on a good show for the hometown team.
Double Olympic medalist Ian Walker takes Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, who now lie in third place, round the top of the course and then back down to the finish.
Early Christmas gift from SCA. You know, really, he's going to be very thankful that they opened the door like that, because really, I think you'd say unforced error is probably still the right word.
You just see just how much coordination needs to take on these boats, and as we zoom in here with Team SEA, every single member of that crew is doing something, and in fact you can see Sam Davies at the bottom of the screen winding the main chute with one hand and easing the runner with the other.
Yeah, it's grinding world championships. Here we go again, and it you know, I know it must be painful for people at home going, oh, wow, look at how slow that maneuver is. But it's just hard. It's so physical. And the choreography that goes into every single one of these maneuvers, and every sail change, every tack, every jibe, it's really incredible. It's brutally hard. You could use 8 more people on this boat. If you were just sailing around the buoys off of Newport in a normal race, you'd have 15, 16 people on this boat. And here they are, mandated by rule that they have to sail with 8.
And if you're a young sailor watching the Volvo Ocean Race and setting your goal that one day you want to be out on these boats racing with the best of the world, it's not just about being a good trimmer, is it? You've got to have a real wide range of skills.
Absolutely. You're as we watched Dongfeng, who went from 4th to last. Again, they were in that low lane along with SCA and got rolled by the entire fleet. If you're a young sailor, yes, you have to win at all levels, and you have to be obviously a great trimmer, driver, bow person, whoever. But each of these guys also has, there are electricians, there's diesel mechanics, there's boat builders, there's sail makers, there's riggers. Every person on this boat will have 1 or 2 more specialties that allows them to be an offshore racer, because you break it, you got to fix it.
Dongfeng Race Team now onto the final leg, but unfortunately for them, they are in 6th place. Team Brunel have pulled their way back up into 5th place. It's looking pretty unlikely for the Chinese boat to feature much higher here, but Canute, it looks like this race is going to go the way of the Spanish team.
It does, and I tell you, we were here at the gate with here still, and I think when Charlie Enright rounded here, you could hear the applause, you could hear people screaming. That doesn't happen much in sailing when you're out racing, you know, that there's so many people cheering for you at the marks that you can really hear it, and I'm sure Charlie could hear it, because I was much further away from the public than he was. So huge crowds here at the marks, and But it's a fantastic showcase for the race, fantastic to show off the boats to people on land and on water. And no, Mapfre has this in the box. This is hard to see, but as we were speaking about, this was a parade and you couldn't pass anyone. And big changes, Ian Walker went from 5th to 3rd place, and obviously Dongfeng the other way, and change has happened.
And Canute, speaking of the Spanish boat, of course, they had a bit of a slow start to their campaign. They were 7th on leg 1 and then 4th and 4th on leg 2 and 3, but then they've managed to find that little bit of speed again. What will winning this import race mean to them?
I think today it means quite a bit psychologically, particularly for the teams who had not been winning the race overall so far, like them. They kind of it's so close to racing, so the mental game is today much tougher, and that's what the sailors tell me. Like you have to feel good to make good decisions. You have to feel good to push the boat hard, and I think coming out with an import race win, it bounds good for tomorrow, and tomorrow is key. Getting a good start tomorrow, first out in Atlantic, first out in the Gulf Stream. Sometimes these Atlantic legs are done in the beginning, and then anything can happen.
Well, we have just heard that we're going to be able to throw down to Alberto Bolzan, the Italian tactician on board Alvi Medica. And Alberto, a great race for you guys. Second, a good result?
Yeah, we're very happy. I was going the race, and we are following Mapfre. Unfortunately, they have 3 or 4 lengths of advantage, and we're trying to catch up, but it's not easy. We're trying. Maybe we hope to find some light spot in the end, right in front of the finish line, and use it in the best way to be in front.
Well, the course has been a bit of a straight race. The legs not quite a true up or down wind. But what's the intensity been like on board?
It looks easy, but it's not absolutely. There's a lot of current. We start in a different direction of current. Now it's just switched, and there's a big river in the center of the channel. For this reason, we are pushing hard on the low side and use all the paths to stay on the left side of the channel and to stay in the best flow and try to gain a little on the boats behind and gain on Mapfre.
Do you think that you guys have an option to try and overhaul Mapfre? It almost looks like the Spanish boat is stretched out of your zone of influence.
It's not easy. At the moment, it looks to be a drag race to the finish line, but inside of the channel, it could happen something before the finish line, right in front. Maybe there's we hope for a light spot or a shift. We're very close, unfortunately, to the finish line, but we try.
And what's it like being out on the water with such a strong support from the home crowd? What does that mean to the guys?
It's amazing to see all these people screaming from the land. It's very nice.
Well, thanks for checking in with us, Alberto Bolzan. Currently in 2nd place on board Alvi Medica, but it looks like Mapfre are out in front, and they don't look like they're going to give it up anytime soon.
Nope, no unforced errors, no chance to pass. Again, I really think Iker has a bit to prove here. I talked to him for a while yesterday on the dock, and you can see it in his eyes. This guy is a serious competitor. He hasn't been thrilled at how it's been going so far, and he's back for this next leg. And good for him. Good for coming out of the blocks and making a statement. And like we were talking about, this is definitely a morale builder. And all of a sudden, you enter the next leg tomorrow, the transatlantic leg. Certainly on quite a high.
The Spanish team, Mapfre, only meters to go before they cross the finish line. And at what point do you start looking behind you, seeing your opposition just that little bit too far away? At what point do you start celebrating?
Yeah, he's breathing now. For sure, I'd say for half of this leg, he's been breathing. You keep looking up toward the shoreline, make sure there's no big light air area coming or anything like that. At some stage, probably a couple minutes ago, he took his first good deep breath and said, this is going to be pretty hard to screw this up.
And for these sailors, I mean, this is their profession, this is their life, day in, day out. But of course, it does still come back to that competitive urge. You just want to win every race you're in.
Oh, if you were driving your car home against one of these guys, it would turn into a battle. You know, you're playing tiddlywinks. It's going to turn into a bloodbath. So no. There's no such thing as taking it easy. None of these people have that gene in their body.
Well, Mafre approaching the finish line over 10 knots. We've still had some great breeze out there on the water, and it looks like it's going to be concluding a great day of action. Mafre leading the fleet to the finish line in Newport after taking the lead at the start, regaining it on leg 2 and proving their dominance in this race. This will be the first import win for the Spanish boat. Hard fought, a great victory, and certainly a big success for this team. Cheers all round. It's been a fantastic day for these sailors.
Nice job by these guys. Obviously, a bit of a shame again that it was a parade for the spectators, possibly, and for us, but obviously not for these guys. And you know what, Xavi Fernandez, he's been Iker's right-hand man forever. He took over the team as the skipper when Iker has not been there. I give him heaps of credit for keeping this team together, keeping them one piece. Rob Greenow, I did a whole lap around the planet with Rob, another amazingly good sailor. Good for these guys. They're going to be strong contenders from here on out.
Alvin Medica, the American and Turkish team, youngest team in the fleet, crossing the line to take second. Not the victory that they would have liked in home waters, but a fantastic performance from this young team, and certainly they're going to be feeling very pleased with themselves.
Take it and run, fellas. A podium finish, second up on the stage. I honestly, this has got to be a big relief. Yes, would it have been storybook ending to win this race? Wonderful, but you know what? They sailed a really good race. They got off the starting line, and that's all they had to do today, and then don't make any unforced errors.
Well, Canute, you're on the water near the finish. A good atmosphere, a good cheer for the Americans as they cross the finish?
Oh, amazing. Everyone's honking their horn, people are cheering. It's fantastic. It's what a place right now to be with a sailing race. I mean, there's so many spectators, so many people, big, small ones, ships, all kinds of things. And I can see people on land like you can never see people on land in sailing. It's great.
And of course, this win here for Mafre, the Spanish team, I mean, they've done a fantastic job. This will mean an awful lot to them. And we can just see now Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. They have pulled themselves up through this fleet, and they're about to cross the finish line and take third place. A podium finish for the double Olympic medalist Ian Walker.
And he will be so thankful of this, because really it was an unforced error by SCA and by Dongfeng that got him into this position. So this is a bit of a gift for Ian. They certainly didn't get off the starting line very well. SCA, in retrospect, they're going to be kicking themselves for just picking the wrong side of that bottom gate the last time around.
Team SCA crossed the finish line to take fourth place. This all-female team certainly proving to be a major player in the import series. Team Brunel about to cross the line to take fifth. A disappointing performance for them, having won the import race in Itajaí.
Your boat in between Brunel and Abu Dhabi in this race means that Abu Dhabi now takes the overall standings, lead in the standings in the import races. So again, for that tie break, it's a big, I think before the race started, a lot of people were concerned there weren't more points involved in the import racing. And now we're finding out that the race is so close on points in the overall standings. This tie break, really, the tie break that's created by these import races absolutely could come into play.
Well, of course, this is going to be a big moment for Dongfeng Race Team, because this performance here, they're finishing in 6th place. And that will mean that they were just 1 point off the import podium going into today. But now they're going to slip several points down as the gap between them and Team SCA widens. And as you say, the import series becoming more and more important as this racing remains tight.
There's no free lunch out here, and these guys found out the hard way. Just a little bit of a hesitation off the starting line. Good start. Hesitation of getting the code 0 out for some reason, and then all of a sudden one unforced error at that last leeward gate let 2 boats by, and you can't make a mistake. You've got to be sharp 24 hours a day.
And how would you characterize this Spanish boat? Because they really turned themselves around and got themselves back with their offshore sailing. Now it looks like import sailing, they seem to have cracked it. They've got a bit of a winning formula. Hopefully they can repeat it. This seems to be a team that's moving in the right direction.
Well, Iker Martinez, I sailed against him in the last 2 Volvo Ocean races, and he's just a competitor. And Iker is the guy who just lays it all out there, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. He's kind of a rags or riches types of guy. He wins or loses, and here we go, import race winner. They're going to be thrilled to hoist that banner tonight. It's always fun to have those banners up on your foredeck when you're sitting at the dock.
Well, this will be a great conclusion for the day for Mapfre, and we are going to be joined by Charlie Enright, skipper of Alvin Medica. Charlie, let me just start by saying a great result for your team, a fantastic performance. Charlie, have you got me there on the water? We can see you on the screen.
Can you guys hear me? There's a couple of vuvuzelas here in the background.
We can hear you, but we're pleased that you're enjoying
just
yourself.
A couple horns here, guys. I don't know.
Charlie, I just wanted to say a great performance from your team.
know,
are you proud of all the sailors on board?
Yeah, hometown crowd, we tried to really keep the intensity up this week, even with the Pro-Am races, and little did we know that the course configuration would be pretty similar. Kind of came down to the start. We were kind of a nuisance there on starboard tack, got the 0 out in a pretty good lane, and kind of point and shoot from there, so we'll take it.
And does the pressure of having the home support, does that help or does that hinder?
Oh, you definitely get up for it. I probably would have said it was pressure had we not done well, but it's more excitement than anything else. I mean, we're sailing by the waterfront right here at Port Adams. Looks pretty good. The guys on the bow are having a good time, so good day for all.
Hey Charlie, Kenny Reed here. Nice job, pal. We're all very proud of you, and this is a nice little turn of events. You got to be proud of being on the podium and proud of the team and how far you've come. But how do you change that mindset? All of a sudden, hey, you're the hero at this very given moment, but you got to do a transatlantic crossing tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep the intensity up. It looks pretty light for tomorrow, and in a weird way, the Saturdays are a little more important than the Sundays, just because they award points today. Even though they're for a tiebreaker, we'll still take them. And tomorrow we could drift out of here, but we got 3,000 miles to go. Anyway, we're just going to try to keep up the intensity and have another good showing tomorrow.
Well, thanks for joining us, Charlie Enright, skipper of Alvi Medica. He's going to be feeling very good about himself. A great performance as the young American and Turkish team take second on the water. A great day of racing. Knut, your thoughts on the atmosphere, final thoughts out there on the water. We've had some superb support.
Well, have a look behind me. It's pretty cool, and I also, apart from looking after the sailors and the boats, I also have to look after the sponsors, and you know that Alvi Medica, this is their home port, but what you didn't know is that for Mapfre, this is the second most important stopover after Spain. Mapfre has a huge business in the state of Rhode Island. They have a huge business in the whole this part of North America. So I saw the president of Mapfre there standing, waving to his guys, and he was pretty excited, I tell you that. So sometimes it's nice to win for your sponsors as well. And and Nico, what's your feeling of the day?
Well, this must be the biggest import race crowd that we've ever seen. Is that your thoughts on it?
I think it's absolutely one of the biggest ones I've seen, and particularly on land. It's wild, but it's fortunate to have these fantastic racetracks so close to shore. Huh?
And also with the local Charlie Enright, I'm pretty sure I saw a smile on his face up at the top mark. It was still early days, but there was a smile on there. I think he knew it was going to be a good one.
Well, this was the last Team Vestas win import race. Next time we're going to have Team Vestas in the import race. We look so much forward to see you, Nico, and all your guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We are so eager to get back out there and mix it up with these guys and bring on Lisbon.
Well, thanks, Knut. Thanks, Chris. Let's take a look at the results from today's racing. It's been a great day of action out there, and that start line proving so important. Mapfre claiming their first import race victory, really from leg one.
They did. Matt Frey took that the right-hand end of the starting line. They committed to starting on port tack. It sounds risky for people out there in the sailing world. It sounds risky to actually line up to start on port, but that's how skewed the starting line was. They did it better than anybody.
Well, let's take a look at how that race has affected the overall import scoreboard. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing is our new leader. The double Olympic medalist Ian Walker has pushed Bauer Becking, the Volvo veteran, down into second place, but only 1 point separates the two. Team SCA holding on to third for now. Well, we've had a fantastic day of drama out in the water. Newport really has provided all the thrills of some great racing. And of course, you're going to be out in the water tomorrow, aren't you, Ken?
Somehow I have been convinced. Personally, okay, I've sailed around the world a couple times. I really don't like being wet. But somehow I got convinced, and this is for charity, for Save the Sea. You can go on their website, you can donate and get me to jump off the back of Brunel tomorrow into the freezing cold 50-degree water.
Well, we will be bringing you all the drama, not just Kenny dunking himself in the water and getting freezing cold, but also the all-important Leg 7 start. That will be at 13:45 local time, 17:45 UTC. If you haven't already, download the Volvo Ocean Race app. It puts all the drama right into your pocket, and it's the best way to get all the action from the race at your fingertips. It's been a great race on the water. My thanks to my entire commentary team, and please make sure you join us tomorrow for the start of Leg 7 to Lisbon.